If you click on Hypertension Sensor, you come to this section. This is all about high blood pressure. Now, high blood pressure is called the silent killer because it does increase your risk of cardiovascular problems and should be recognized and treated, for one thing, through specialized prevention, as well as if it cannot be regulated by prevention, also medically. So if you go to the introduction section, you will find out a lot about blood pressure, what the normal blood pressure should be, how genetic factors influence blood pressure. So there's a lot of general information about the topic that you can go through in case you're interested. To find out what your genes tell you about your risk of high blood pressure, you have to click on Summary of Effects. Now, this is just an example, so do go to your own account or to your own booklet to see what your personal risk is, because it very likely is different to the example that I'm talking through here. So in this case, this person has a very high risk of hypertension, which means that almost all of his genes are of the very unfortunate type, meaning that they all increase his risk of developing high blood pressure. And up here the summary says your risk of developing hypertension is approximately 13.9 times higher. So 13.9 times higher than that of the general population. Do check your own results. It's likely to be different, very likely lower, but depending on where your bar is, if you're down here, this prevention is not so important for you, but if you're up here, this type of prevention is really very important for your health. So do check this bar to see how important this section is for you. Now we know the type of information, the type of risk we could read from this person's genes, and now the next question is, what can we do to prevent hypertension? Again, this is going to be a different text than what you're going to find in your own reports, so do check it. But I will quickly talk you through the different interventions that would have been recommended to this person with a very high risk. For one, hopefully you're not a smoker. In case you are, it is very advisable, not just because smoking is generally unhealthy, but for people with a high risk of high blood pressure, it multiplies together. So it's another risk factor that can increase blood pressure, and it really is a bad combination to smoke and to have genetic variations that increase the risk of blood pressure. So reducing, stopping to smoke, even if you've smoked for a long time, can be very beneficial for your blood pressure. Alcohol consumption is also a big risk factor, and specifically excessive ingestion of alcohol can increase blood pressure, and this happens to many alcoholics. So specifically for people who have a high risk of high blood pressure, they should moderate their ingestion of alcohol, and this can lead to a drop in blood pressure between 2 to 4 millimeters mercury. People who are overweight also often experience high blood pressure, and so in case you are overweight, it would be advisable to reduce your body weight, especially if your risk for high blood pressure is increased genetically. You could expect a drop in around 5 to 20 millimeters mercury if you lose around 10 kilograms of weight. Regular exercise is also very important for low blood pressure, and doing regular exercise you could expect to lower your blood pressure around 4 to 9 millimeters mercury. Also, nutrition plays an essential role in regulating blood pressure. High sodium intake, which means that you're using a lot of table salt, can increase your blood pressure. So especially people with a high risk or already high blood pressure should reduce their table salt intake. Optimal would be below 2.5 grams of table salt per day. In addition, eating lots of fruits and vegetables and keeping the saturated fat intake, the bad fat intake low, can also have beneficial aspects for your blood pressure. It could reduce it between 8 and 14 milligrams of mercury. besides a healthy lifestyle with healthy nutrition, exercise and so on, as I've just been talking you through, medical supervision is also important for people with an increased risk for high blood pressure. So it is easy to measure blood pressure at home with a specific measuring instrument. You can get them on the internet, and you should measure it. In case your blood pressure is normal, you should measure it once a week and keep a diary of it. And in case it is increased and the preventive measures that I've just mentioned are not sufficient to reduce it, then usually it is important to also start medical treatment. In these cases, the doctor will be able to choose from a multitude of different medications. Do check the list of medications that are typically used for regulating blood pressure to make sure that you respond to them in the way that you should based on pharmacogenetics. So in case you cannot get your blood pressure in the normal levels, do talk to your doctor about it to also start drug treatment.